and she cried, Nastee Chapel.
Hello! We are Nastee Chapel.
My name is NatalieGrace.
And I am Steve.
We are a couple of wandering bards, musicians sharing song and story.
And today you are watching our series Into the Song, where we will do a deep dive into the story, the history, and the message of a song that we are going to be sharing with you today.
And today we have for you one of our original songs that is on our debut album Lost and Found. This song is called Sisters.
Let's get into it.
We find ourselves in ancient Greece. Goddess Athena sits on the Council of Gods, the only woman to sit among the men who dictate the law and order of the day. Athena has a handmaid, a confidant, a friend. Her name is Medusa. Medusa is a beautiful young woman, the epitome of femininity in the eyes of the gods. One day, Medusa is taking care of Athena's temple when in strolls Poseidon, one of the gods on the council. Poseidon forces himself upon Medusa. Now, to be defiled upon the temple of Athena is a grave sin, for the woman, that is. The matter is brought to the council. Each of the gods turn to Athena. It becomes clear to Athena that this is a test. Under the law and order, she is expected to serve punishment against Medusa. Definitely exile, possibly death. If she shows mercy to Medusa, she will be seen as weak in the eyes of the gods, and she may lose her place on the council. Medusa is brought forth, and Athena says to her, Medusa, for your sin, you will be stripped of your beauty. Your skin will be turned to scales, your hair to snakes. You will be banished to live on an island in isolation, surrounded only by plants and animals. And if any man should come close to you again, your gaze alone will turn them to stone. Well, the gods are satisfied. I mean, wow, Athena, you kept her alive, but you took her beauty, her most valuable asset. Most valuable asset to them, perhaps. She must live surrounded only by plants and animals, never to feel the touch of a man again. How cruel! Maybe this was protection under the guise of punishment. The name Medusa comes from a Greek word meaning guardian or protector, and this version of this myth is how it was told by the Roman poet Ovid. And although there are some differences in this version to the earlier Greek myth, all of these stories end the same way, with the valiant hero Perseus using mirrors and trickery to decapitate the hideous monster Medusa, brandishing her head in his heroic return. The concept of who is the hero and who is the villain It's something I think Ovid is asking us to think a little harder about here.
In Greek mythology, Medusa is a gorgon, a monster with snakes for hair and scaly skin, and eyes that turn onlookers to stone. She is the only gorgon in Greek myth who is mortal, which explains why Perseus could kill her by cutting off her head. He gives her severed head to Athena, who places it on her shield for protection.
I mentioned in the story that the name Medusa comes from the ancient Greek word Medusa, which carries a connotation of protection to it. And we do often see Roman and Greek artifacts that are being discovered on archaeological digs today that have that emblem of Medusa's head on them. It's really common to see it on shields, so something that is used for protection.
The Roman poet Ovid describes Medusa as starting life as a beautiful young maiden. Although this isn't how she is described in earlier Greek myth, there are ancient depictions of Medusa as a beautiful young maiden that predates Ovid. Interesting.
In classical Greek art, the depiction of Medusa shifted from being a hideous beast to an attractive young woman. She was described in this article that I will link below as both aggressor and victim, a tragic figure in her death. So while the ancient Greek vase painters and relief carvers imagined Medusa and her sisters as having these monstrous, disgusting, scary forms, sculptors and painters of the 5th century BC began to envisage her as being a beautiful young woman, as well as also still being terrifying. Beauty and terror, that is Medusa.
Light and dark, that is Medusa. Ovid's story makes us think about how a person can be seen as a monster. People place a lot of care onto things being aesthetically pleasing and beautiful. And if someone expresses that beauty and also expresses a kind of ugliness or wildness, the latter gets pushed into the shadows and is deemed inappropriate and unsightly. Our bodies are beautiful and they are ugly. We all know this because we all have one. Okay, we have lovely times and then we have other times that are not, we've got to deal with some stuff. Now, moving through both is a cycle, okay? It's cyclical. Sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's not beautiful, okay? We know this every day. To suppress the ugliness is to suppress yourself. This is what we got to understand here in the story. We pretend that we don't have ugliness in society. This is how society likes to do it. We pretend that we don't have ugliness inside of us or as part of us. And then we shame ourselves and others for something that is so natural to us.
That is it. And this makes me think of a time when I was working in a primary school and we took the kids out for a school trip and it was a really, really long day and we were in traffic. This is in East London and we'd been stuck on this bus for ages and one of the little boys, they're 8 years old, these kids, 7 or 8 years old. One of the little boys pooped his pants. And all his friends are laughing. Oh, he pooped his pants, miss, he pooed himself. And I just went, everybody poops. Everybody poops, okay?
Everybody poops.
That's all there is to it. That's all there is. And all those kids, they loved it. They loved that phrase. Then now they're just dancing along the road going, everybody poops. Everybody poops. Because it's true.
Yes. This story looks at society's expectations of its citizens in a few different ways. It looks at the expressions of femininity, while this is played out by two female characters here. These traits exist in all people, regardless of gender. So maybe you can relate to this.
So in the story, we can see a wedge that is driven between two women, Athena and Medusa. And on the one side, we have Athena the goddess, the member of the council, and we have Medusa, the beautiful, obedient handmaid. Both are performing roles that are expected of them within their society. Then there is Medusa, who becomes the archetype of the fallen woman. Sex has been used as a weapon to create the idea that maidenhood, innocence, purity is a kind of property that can be taken from you by someone else. In punishment for that, Medusa then becomes the monster. She becomes physically ugly. She lives isolated from society. Her gaze literally turns people to stone. She's distanced from people, but she's surrounded by nature, by plants and animals. She becomes a wild woman, a wild being, also known as a monster. The idea that these two sides exist in opposition to each other creates so much pain and torment, because Athena and beautiful Medusa are being held at gunpoint that they have to perform this poised and perfect role, and if they slip up, someone is ready to take it all away from them. And for those that don't fit in to that perfect role, the perfect aesthetic, they are forever excluded and looked down upon.
But both of these roles exist inside every single person, regardless of gender. It may be appropriate for you to be Athena, the solemn, graceful leader, when you're engaging with your business, exactly. But you can also take yourself off to the woods with no one around and swim naked in the river, scream at the top of your lungs, to connect with your wildness. So yeah, you can express both sides, and as human beings, we decide where is it appropriate. Where can I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that? But if you don't do them, then you're going to have a breakdown, probably.
This is us performing our original song, Sisters. Sister, lie here at my side. I'll share with you oceans deep and kingdoms wide. Though they try to split our hearts, I'll silently hold you dear, we never shall part. And she cried, I'll hold you in sin, in arms of mother's love. You were stand from your gilded cage, taught to possess what you know, to empower your rage. She lay bare in the house of man. You took what you could from her, then you took it again. she cried, I'll hold you and sit in arms of mother's love. I'll hold you and sit in arms of mother's love. Sister, hear these words I speak. It takes one to pierce through the veil to find out where you're weak. But what they build, they cannot define. You'll harden your shield, but your light will remain divine. And she cried, I'll hold you and sit in arms of mother's love. I'll hold you and sit in arms of mother's love. The people sang as you claimed your prize. Comfort through fear of unknown that was nourished by your lies. But she spoke loud and clear to me. They hold your head in their hands while they tell you that you're free.